r/pro revenge. A coworker was eating people's lunches, so I poisoned them and got them fired. So I like to bring my own food into the office, and we have a fridge to put things into. And I have my food in tubs with my name on them. A coworker would sometimes not see people's names on food and think it was theirs, so would heat it up and eat it and then apologize. They did this enough for it to be an annoyance, but not enough for our employers to really care. This has been happening with my food for once or twice a month. Last month I had enough, and I like spicy food. But don't bring it into the office, as sometimes I'll let people try some of my food and my cooking. I ordered a bag of ghost chili peppers and put the full bag into a big pot of chili that would last for several days. I took this into the office and had it for lunch every day. Midweek my lunch went missing, and I was waiting for the person who was stealing my lunch get a shock when they ate my lunch. What happened in reality was someone got sent home sick, and the next day they were off, and I was told they went to the doctors for stomach pains. 2 weeks went by and the co-worker who was off refused to talk about it and said HR was involved, so I knew they were going to try get me fired. I went home and ordered another bag of ghost chilies and made another batch of my chili, this time with only one chili in a single tub. I put this in the freezer, and the following Monday I was told I had a HR meeting that day. I refused and said they need to give me 24 hours to find someone to come into the meeting with me, and the next day I had my manager come into the meeting and brought in my now heated ghost chili infused chili. The long and short is I was told I could be fired for trying to poison the person who was stealing my lunch, and I asked if they admitted to stealing people's lunch, which they did. I then said I have a batch of the chili in question with me, and I like spicy food. My liking spicy food shouldn't stop me from having it at work, since it doesn't smell when heated, like fish, and my manager agreed it was on the person who took my lunch without knowing how spicy it was, and I should not be held liable if they eat something of someone else's that doesn't agree with them. My manager and I then ate some of the chili and offered it to the other people in the meeting, some of which tried it and agreed. While it was spicy, it was clearly what I liked, as I was fine eating it. The meeting ended and nothing happened. I wasn't taken into another meeting and my lunch wasn't taken anymore. But the person who had stole our lunch got a slap on the wrist and was allowed to stay at work. Lunches started to go missing again, so my manager went to HR to say that lunches were going missing and he knew who was taking it and had proof this time. And when they asked for the proof, he presented the meeting record with the line highlighted where they admitted they had stolen lunch and the line where HR had said this was not what the meeting was about. They were fired the next day for theft of property and told they would not be given a reference. Too long didn't read. A co-worker was eating people's lunches, so I poisoned them and got them fired. Edit. Thanks for the gold, but I'd rather you spend the money donating to the current issues in Hong Kong right now. There are a number of ways to do this listed here. Edit 2. It was removed due to the Amazon link, not due to Hong Kong. Post should be back on soon. Years ago, I was a dispatcher for a trucking company. Lunches were going missing. A co-worker suffered from a condition of his digestive system that required frequent colonoscopies. As a result, he had access to some pretty powerful laxatives. He spiked his lunch. Sure enough, it went missing. There's a stretch of highway called the 401, and the guy who swiped the lunch was a truck driver. Here's the thing. The distance between exits on that highway is considerable. I guess he didn't make it, as word got around the terminal that the driver basically shit all over the cab and had to pay for the cleanup. Steal my laundry detergent? Hope you like the bleached clothes look. This happened when I was in college back in 2011. I lived in a 4-story dorm that was all guys. About 40-60 guys per floor. Each floor had one laundry room with 3 washers and 3 dryers plus cubbies to store your laundry bag soap while you were washing. A few months into the semester I noticed my laundry detergent was disappearing faster than it should be. Not a huge deal, but middly annoying. What made it a bigger deal was that whoever was stealing my detergent would also take my clothes out of the washer and leave them on the floor so they could wash their clothes. This pushed me over the line. I would typically do a load while I went to class, not classes, so this made finding the perp tricky. Then a golden idea hit me. I went to Walmart and bought a new jug of laundry detergent, the same brand I always get, but I also bought extra strength bleach. I poured half the detergent from the new bottle into my old bottle and replaced it with the extra strength bleach. That next day I did my laundry as usual, but left the new and improved detergent in the cubby instead of my regular stuff. Then I waited. After class, sure enough, my clothes were sitting in a pile on the floor soaking wet and the whole laundry room smelled of bleach. Just what I wanted. Fast forward to the next week. Every Monday night we had floor meetings where we basically talked about rules and crap as a floor. In walks the guy. We'll call him Bob. wearing a newly bleached hoodie and ruined jeans. Bob drops his pile of ruined clothes on the floor and starts spouting off about how someone owed him money for his ruined clothes. The whole floor bursts out in laughter. Apparently I wasn't the only one Bob was stealing soap from. He didn't get another sentence out of his mouth before our told him stealing detergent was still a crime, so it was his own damn fault. Enjoy your bleached clothes, Bob. Too long didn't read guy on my floor was stealing my detergent. I mixed it with bleach and ruined his clothes. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Also, updated to clarify I went to class not classes. Edit 2. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. A crappy apartment I lived in back in the early 2000s had storage units and laundry in the basement. One day I was rummaging around in my storage unit when I saw the neighbor girl come down and put her load of clothes in the dryer, put in some coins, and leave. A little bit later another scumbag neighbor come down. He stopped the dryer cycle, took her clothes out and threw them on the ground, then took his stuff out of another washing machine and stick it in the dryer the girl had just paid for, and then he left. Well, this calls for a little vigilante justice. I had a few little bottles of liquid ass prank stink spray. If you've ever experienced it, you know that just a tiny little squirt can clear a room. I went and dumped an entire bottle all over his clothes, then restarted the dryer cycle so that it could get well and truly baked in. I went back down and checked the basement a few hours later, and the guy's clothes were piled in the trash, reeking like a pit toilet. The dryer stunk too still, so I put a bucket and let it run empty. It aired out fine so no one else had to suffer. Edit. To those who are commenting why didn't I just switch them back out or why did I leave her clothes on the floor? A. I mainly wanted to ruin this guy's shit in the hopes that he'd be scared to ever do this again. And B. If I had moved her clothes it would have looked like she did it, and I know that he knew who she was because the time between her leaving and him entering was maybe 10 seconds. Unless you took off at a full sprint there's no way you could be out of the line of sight of anyone walking towards the basement steps in that amount of time. 14 people, including me, walk out in protest. So, Friday the 13th happened. It was glorious, for all intents and purposes. I run day-to-day operations for a decent-sized company. We have a president who runs the company in-house. He can be tedious, overwhelming, and an all-around dong sometimes. Other times, he can be cool as can be. This was one of the times he was an overbearing, micromanaging dongbag. A shop foreman. I take my job seriously with morale. If my guys aren't happy, good product isn't produced. If good product isn't produced, customers aren't happy. Looking towards quality control. It doesn't help when guys are overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. Friday was one of those days that started out well, but by 6:40 am, it had deteriorated to shit. Note, we officially don't start work until 7 am. After the start, it was beach about this. Micromanage that. Several people being cussed at and belittled. Everyone had had enough. Once in our programming office, the idea was floated by someone that we should walk out. He can't fire us all. Now, we've all joked about this time after time, but it's never been more than a thought. We grit our teeth and bear it. That day was something different. After getting yelled at again for something out of my control, I finally said duck it. When someone asked if I was in and serious, I said yes. Then, it snowballed from there. A total of 20 were supposed to walk out, but due to cold feet, and a few taking a shit, only 14 made it. At 10 am, we made our move. I told everyone to wait until he would be distracted with a machine and we'd all clock out and leave. We all waited. When he was distracted, I gave the roundup signal, and everyone left. A few stopped for beer to relax. We weren't intending on going back to negotiate until Monday. We all met at a guy's house and discussed why we walked, what we wanted, and what our terms were. One thing was very clear. We all came back or no one did. After talking for 2 hours and coming to our terms, we decided to head back after a text from him. We were going to corner him. We were going to talk it straight, or we weren't working anymore. The talk lasted almost 2 hours, with both parties flexing their given muscles at some point. But one thing was made clear. Things were going to change, or we'd all go look for new jobs. After several people were threatened with being fired, and none being let go, we came to terms that benefited us. For once, our workplace had so much morale. People were excited to work again. We went back to work with a purpose, agenda, and pride. This is the first Monday I've looked forward to work in a year. Even the guys who couldn't come, the people in the main office, we stirred the pot. We've made it known. We're not going to go through this anymore. I'll vouch for any of my men, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Edit. Thanks for my first silver. Kind person. I again retain. I'm not posting this for karma. I'm a huge lurker and posted BC. I want people to know that solidarity and group leadership can lead to some extraordinary things. Edit 2. Thanks to everyone who has commented and replied. Also thanks to the Anons who gave me a platinum, 2 golds, and another silver. I've shared the success of our story with my comrades and they thank you too. Bro, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.